For all the drivers that have asked me about engineering or want to get into engineering or learn about setup, I think you're going to like this episode because this is an interview with Rik Kasius. He's a race engineer that I spent this year with Oliver Bearman. Obviously, he won both F4 championships, and he's a top engineer. And I think everybody in this community can take a lot from this chap and this conversation. Enjoy it. Rik, welcome to the Race Driver Coach Show.
Thank you.
How official is that?
Right.
It's people already know because I've done the intro before, the intro, but it's race engineering time. And I wanted to bring you on because, well, I've worked with you for so long now. We'll have to talk about that. And I want to pick your brains because there's plenty of people that watch this channel that are actually not into being a race driver, but they want to be an engineer, or they are drivers and they want to improve their engineering knowledge or that side of it. So you're the perfect person for this. So first of all, give us a snapshot. Who is Rik? How do we know each other, and what's your journey so far?
Well, already big question. Well, thank you first of all for inviting me and doing this. Well, who am I? Well, basically, we've known each other for several years now.
Oh man, it's long.
About 10 years, I think.
Yeah.
Just coming from my background from ages ago, I did some amateur level karting. Obviously, I've been intrigued by racing since a very early age, and I wanted to go into motorsport. So amateur level karting, which is it's not much. Yeah. It's not much. I've picked up some things from that, to be honest, which is quite nice. Just a feeling of what the car could feel like. But basically, went through various stages of education towards motorsport. I did an undergrad in aeronautical engineering, race cars and upside down aircraft, effectively. So did that in Holland. That's where I'm from. That's where I'm based at the moment. But I moved to the UK for a brief spell as well, studying motorsport engineering and management at Cranfield University. And I think that has brought everything into life, really. Being in the UK is where motorsport happens. And that has been quite good. Whilst doing that, which was, obviously it's a master in motorsport engineering, very technical, theoretical. I wanted to know more about the driver side of things. And that's where we came in touch briefly, I think, working together with Enzo, if I'm allowed to mention all that. And that has given me a broader perspective of what it takes for drivers. And I think that has been quite good for me in my career trajectory.
So that's how we started. And then I think I didn't see you for a while. And you started to engineer for, like, I think it was Mucci. I'm not sure now. You started to engineer.
Yeah.
And then we found ourselves working together. First of all, I think it was Liam.
Yeah, it was Liam.
In the F3 test, Valencia.
That's true. Yeah, that was the end of 2018. Yeah. Because obviously, like, from various steps within motorsport, data performance engineering, I went to more race car engineering and mostly the junior single seaters. F4, German, Italian F4, where Liam was participating in 2018. I was running a different driver, but at the end of the season, we were able to work together in F3 cars. And I've basically been in F4 ever since.
But honestly, man, I can't name as much, many people that have had that success, because you obviously won it with Helga.
Yes.
You obviously won a championship with Mr. Edgar. And this year we spent our life together, it seems like, with Bearman. And you won both championships, Italian and German. So I think, mate, it's you should take a moment just to, you probably have already, but just to pinch yourself and say, you know what, it is so difficult, these championships. There's 35 cars on the grid, for God's sake. And you've been with the winning drivers the last 3 years, is it?
Yes.
So you've obviously got it down. The team's got it down. The systems are all in place, and I must admit, when I'm working with you guys, it is a step above the average. What is expected at that level? Put it that way. As a quick question, what would you say is the importance of a driver's feedback? Is it really important they know about engineering? Is it really important that they know too much about how the car works? Or what would you say? Because some drivers spend a lot of time learning about the diff and all these different things, which doesn't matter in F4. But do they actually need to have that knowledge?
For me, it's a fine balance. And like, first of all, and again, speaking of junior drivers, you need to understand the basics to how to drive a F4 car well, with a certain setup or not. Does that feedback have to be correct? At least to have some sort of feedback is already quite good. It could be correct or it could be wrong, doesn't matter, but put something on a piece of paper and download your information, because that's the first thing that you do, is like, what is really going on. Because at the end of the day, especially for young teenagers, it's a highly dynamic environment. It's a lot of information to process. Just to even knowing what's going on and being aware is a very big thing. So in terms of that feedback, that's already quite something, that they know what's going on, and then translating that into words.
How do you like the feedback? Do you like it sort of saying, oh, I've got a bit of oversteer in high speed, or do you like to go a bit deeper, like turn into apex off? How do you actually prefer it as an engineer when you're working with someone?
Again, that's sort of depends. It depends on what kind of driver you're dealing with. If you're dealing with top end and the basis of things of the driving is already quite good, then you would start to go in more detail, just knowing which end of the car we need to change or balance or fix in order to come to something. But for me, still, I need to be aware of what the driver is able to process. Because there could be too much information, and it's still very important also for as an engineer to bear in mind that let's keep it simple in order to come down to the best solution. What is the main limiting factor, without losing ourselves in that corner and that corner and that corner, and then we're over processing it. But the closer you get to the limit, you start to pinpoint more of those details. But the requirement of that is that the base is there.
This is the grey art, isn't it? It's like, because it is where art meets science. You've got to, as you are an engineer, you've got to translate all that and make sure they combine. But with a driver, it's like, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling that, and you've got to say, right, is this your driving that's actually creating this upset in the car, or is it the setup? So you're investigating, I think, aren't you? Once when they're downloading to you and debriefing, you have to translate what that means, and then look at the data for proof. I think it's because you are basically shocking the car too much, lifting too harsh or not enough, whatever it is. That, I think, is another skill, because anyone can, well, not everyone, a lot of people can read data, but it's the translation. What's the driver telling me? What's the truth? Basically. And I think that's where I noticed your skill is. The driver can be adamant that the car's understeering or whatever, but you'll slap them down and say, no, it's because of this. They go out and try it. They load the car up a bit more on the front or something through their driving, and all of a sudden it's fixed. And then we don't have to chase this fictitious setup. So I think that's quite a skill. Where did you learn that part? Or was it just trial and error?
It's a bit of trial and error. The more experience you get, the better it is. And I still believe in investing time in understanding a driver / an athlete on how to perform is key for an engineer or future engineer. If you don't spend that time, then you're looking at a lot of theory and a lot of squiggly lines, but you don't know how to digest it for yourself, let alone to someone else, or the feedback that you're getting, simply because I have some amateur level karting experience, but not much more than that. So if you understand a bit more about how to drive the car and how it could feel, I think that's absolutely vital, and
Yeah.
and a lot is still from doing it again, and trying to create a relaxed atmosphere for the driver to be
Yeah.
being challenged still, but in a comfortable area.
Yeah. I
I
think
think that's just in some kind of zone there where you can just move about together with your personal driver.
do you have to manage your own personal performance, like with a driver? Obviously, we want to get them to be good under pressure, perform on demand, be upbeat when obviously things are not going well, to come back. Do you have to manage your own? So like, I'm turning up for this day in a similar mindset, and I have to lead the driver. My mindset bleeds into them. Do you have to manage your own? Turn up to win.
This is an absolutely fantastic question, Enzo. I really like it because people tend to underestimate that. For a lot of people, yeah, this is a job.
Yeah,
it's a hobby. It's a job. But I'm very, very conscious of the fact that I need to perform too.
yeah,
Me, the driver, and the car, and the team.
Yeah.
We work together for a single goal. We have to, especially when it's about getting a championship, we have to get everything correct. And so I'm also judging my own performance. Should I coach slightly differently? Should I change things slightly differently? What is the strategy that we go into a session with?
Mm-hmm.
And I personally analyze that for myself afterwards. Could I have done any better? I'm very self-conscious about the fact that I need to be sharp, focused as well. And
Perfect.
It's something not to be underestimated. So really like that question, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, you're a personal performer, and and you've got to. The thing is, you're a leader, and if you start to get nervous, you start to second guess your own decisions, talk yourself out of it. The driver feels it. It's like riding a horse. If the rider's not quite confident, the horse then feels that through the muscles, and you're virtually the same, I think. Even on the radio, because you have to talk to them, calm the driver down. We had a few instances this this season with Mr. Bearman, where we had the wrath of Rik sometimes. But I think you've got to be a leader of your mini team, your car. You've got to run the mechanics. So I think, mate, it's a lot similar. Do you do anything? Do you research mental sciences or do your own warm up before you get to the track or anything?
But my own warm up at the track is coffee.
Mentally,
it's coffee, really.
Coffee.
I've in the past I've obviously investigated more about what it takes for a driver to perform.
Yeah.
And researched it more then. And occasionally we dive into that a bit more, although sadly we're time limited because it's such an intense season. But maybe if you think about it, I used to do a lot of prep for every event that we go to, from an engineering point of view, from a driver point of view. And that helps me being confident in what we need to do. Just relying on historic things that we've done, historic information, and researching back all the experience that we have on particular tracks, and use that as a strength. And like you say, if you do that prep, you can be confident in what you're bringing across. Whether you're second guessing yourself in the background doesn't matter, because it actually makes you good. Because as an engineer, you should always see, like, is that right? Should it be better, or should it be the other way around? But if you've got a confident way of bringing your points across, I think that already helps also for your own confidence in your own performance.
Yeah, true. I think confidence is big, and it's not fear in losing, because these moments come up when you've got to make a tire choice. And if you're the kind of person naturally that worries about getting it wrong, what will the boss think then? What will the dad think of the driver? Oh my God, then it becomes turmoil. You can't make a decision. You end up beating yourself up. But I noticed that you were quite confident, right? Obviously looking at the radar all the time, trying to guess, but it's like, right, what we've got, the evidence we've got, let's keep it black and white. This is the option. So no matter what happens, we made an option or a decision on the current situation. And I think you can't, and you just stuck it there, and everybody felt at ease then. It's like, we deal with it then. If it's a mistake, it's a mistake. So what? And I think you need that about you in every single area, right? With setup and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a structured way of thinking about it. It's like I said, this is the situation now. We could pursue this avenue or this avenue, and those are the steps in between. And keeping the whole situation calm without rushing things, I think helps. Especially with, like you say, weather and tire choices. There's always a high level of chance and involved, but you try to control what you can control, and structurally go about things, and I think then you can make the right choice, and communication with your with your driver. Like,
the driver's got to call it as well. Very often the driver will blame the engineer for choosing a set of tires. Like, look, man, you had the outlap to decide what tires and what the track was like. So so actually a driver needs to take it on as well, that responsibility.
It should be. At the end of the day, I'm not driving it, and also not for the next half hour. I can feed the best information that I have, whether it comes to experience or data from the car, or what the track is like, or the radar. But at the end of the day, the driver has to be as confident as he can be in a certain situation when it comes to different sorts of weather circumstances. So at the end of the day, it is the driver, but the only thing I can do is provide him with the most accurate information at that time to make the best judgment.
A lot of this, what we spoke about at the minute, comes down to experience, like working with the driver, getting the right mindset for the driver, understanding their feedback, talking about car setup. It's how you experience this track in the past. It drives quick, it drives slow, blah, blah, blah. So I think to be a trainee engineer, to be at the beginning, it must be so overwhelming. But then as you get into it, all this experience just allows the decisions to help or happen really quickly. So I think that's something we can't really gauge or talk about when it's talking about art meets your science, because a lot of it is gut and just stored information.
Yeah, absolutely.
I haven't even written down.
But still also keep it simple.
Yeah,
that's my biggest advice for is make it as simple as you can get. You can lose yourself very much in a lot of things.
Yeah.
But if you just try to narrow it down to things that you know are correct, and which simplify things, then you've got a lot more control, a lot less stress and things to worry about. So you have to delve into details at some stage, in some situations, but just try to keep it simple.
I think a lot of people underestimate also if you've got a good driver that can drive around problems in the car, if it's not quite right, if you're on changeable conditions, on slicks, it's half wet, half dry. It comes down to the driving as well. And people love to blame the engineer, blame the team, blame this, blame that. But if you've got a proper driver in the car, it's amazing how that bridges a lot of gaps. So it still comes down to the sporting side, really, and the skill.
Absolutely.
So quickly, how do you prep for an event, a race event? I know you do a lot, like a 2-day event, but talk me through it quickly.
Quickly. Well, personally, I like to do my prep, so making sure that I know everything about the car setup and plans as much as possible in advance. Also, gather historic data effectively and bundle that together into a package. Like, hey, this works. And go into the weekend. Normally, with a driver, you tend to do simulator preparation. And you take that time to sit down with him and like, hey, this is what you've driven in the past, this is what we need to work on, this is what works here on this particular track that we're going to, and make a plan, make a structured plan, like this is what we're going to go through, this is what we want to try in terms of driving, this is what we want to try in terms of car setup, and go from there. Obviously spend the time in the sim, working on driver technique, mental approach as well, the focus and concentration side of things.
So we had a good year this year, 2 championships. Oliver Bearman. What do you think to him?
What do I think to him? Oh, this wasn't scripted.
Oh no, this wasn't scripted. What do you think of his 2 of his strengths, or 1 or 2 of his strengths that have helped him?
First of all, raw speed. he's very raw, and in that sense, just to control that in the right areas was quite nice to do. He's just fast and braking. Personally, his braking is nearly spot on from the word go, and that is quite a skill to have.
Yeah,
for me.
I mean,
And being able to deliver.
Mate, if you've got raw speed and you can deliver, what else should we talk
Yeah.
about? Actually, there was times with Ollie we have to hold him back because he is
Absolutely.
like a raging bull,
Yes.
like a greyhound out of the cage. Go, go,
Yeah.
go! Before the tire's even ready. He won't mind me saying that, but that's I much prefer that than constantly trying to get the driver to brake later, brake harder, push more. You know, push is a bit of a not the best thing to say, but you know what I mean. To actually turn up on the day where he was the opposite, you're trying to rein him back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think people need to understand that when you're going up against someone in a fight who is fast, they are relentless. And I think, you know, if no one listens to anything else we say, it comes down to your skill, the ability to show up, pump a lap in after like 3 laps, you're already nearly at your ceiling, then just into details. I think that was the thing for me. It wasn't going out and showing him different lines all the time. It was just now and then, but it was more straight into details, and we're at the top purple sector in. That makes life so much easier, doesn't it?
Yes.
So I think that was the skills. Anything else that he had?
Anything else that he had?
Energy
For sure. And I think also we created a good atmosphere together, so we had a nice working environment. And is it always good? Are we always agreeing? Of course not.
Like watching a tennis match sometimes, mate.
Yeah, it's like and we have to be harsh to each other sometimes. Me to him and him to me.
Yeah.
And that's part of it. But overall, you know, we respect each other. We grow a bond after a while. Which to be fair, I've had with all of my recent drivers, and I've been blessed with good guys to work with, and then you can explore those limits more and further, and you can build on that. But I think our working atmosphere is fantastic as well.
That's what I think is forgotten a lot, is when you're in a fight for a championship, you can have this head-to-head with your engineer, and it's just you both figuring things out, you know, expressing yourself freely without worrying about customer client care and all this crap. It's like, no, we're in for a fight. And I said it to you before when we're having a difficult time at one point. It's like Gordon Ramsay in the kitchen. Both of you will scream at each other, get it over, but it's like at the end, it's like high-fiving. That was a good session or a good day. And it's not taking it personal. Oh, I don't quite like the way you've spoken to me then. It's like, guys, come on.
You don't have time for it.
No.
There's, you know, we all set a goal at the beginning of the season. And like you're saying, obviously the driver needs to perform, but I'm trying to perform as well.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately gonna go towards the common purpose.
Yeah.
But we set clear goals at the beginning, and we're going for it. We're absolutely going for it. So if at some stage things or comments are needed, then that's what's needed.
Yeah, I like that. It's heart on the sleeve, and you're just being yourself basically, and you'll get more out of yourself then. Okay.
We all want to win.
Oh, mate, that's it. At the end of the day, do anything to do it. So, a few questions from people who are watching the show is: how do I become an engineer?
There's various ways. Obviously, I've done it through education. And you know, an undergrad or a bachelor in mechanical engineering. There's various types of it.
That was Cranfield. You went.
That's actually my aeronautical. That's my aeronautical degree. Some people go through more automotive side of things, which is possible, but just also general mechanical engineering.
Okay.
Then you can specify in Masters of Motorsport, and there's several nowadays. Got Cranfield, but you also have Oxford Brooks, who also has a bachelor. There are also ex-racing drivers that become engineers, which is helpful because you've got the driver side of things
You
as
have
well.
to be quite switched on that side to do that, don't you? Yeah.
Yeah. It is possible. I've seen it, but you still need to have some sort of understanding of engineering, / car engineering, or how it could / should work.
Yeah.
But there are depending on what sort of level you want to be in. There's more courses nowadays that can bring you there or give you a lot of information in a short time. There's more about vehicle dynamics, Optimum G, but also the MIA is doing various courses, online courses, and classroom lectures on several days that you could get a lot of info from experienced people to how to be a race engineer, which is sort of a crash course. It won't tell you everything or get you there straight away, and now I'm a race engineer, but it can lead you in the right direction. So
it's not like being a lawyer where you have to have this degree and then a team will accept you. You can actually work your way up, can't you, from being a mechanic if you're switched on again.
100%. And I would advise everyone to get hands-on experience. Yeah, that, like you said, there are mechanics that grow further into being a race engineer. So being on the spanners first, then getting a laptop involved, doing data / performance engineering, and then saying, okay, I want more responsibility and I would like to actually make some changes. And then you grow that sort of direction. I do believe that an engineering degree helps, depending on what sort of level you want to act in. But we all have a certain passion, and if you show the right skills and a bit of experience, because that's still important, and that's always a chicken and egg story. Like, you need to be hired with some sort of experience, but it's difficult to get in. But try to get the practical experience first. Be on the spanners, clean stuff, and that's how I started.
And if somebody wants to just improve their knowledge on engineering, if you've got any books that drivers can literally pick up, read, and they understand what a roll bar is and how to change things, ride height, cast the camera.
There is, for me, 2 books that help me a little bit, and so don't know what helps with the driver. You can go very detailed in the vehicle dynamics side of things, but that can boggle your mind quite quickly, so I'm not mentioning that at all. You've got the book from Michael Crum, Driving on the Edge, which is a very comprehensive book for me. Obviously it teaches you about the driving, but it is also a bit of engineering involved, a bit about tires, and that can help you in the right direction. Slightly more theoretical is the data analysis book from Jörg Segers, Advanced Data Analysis. Something along those lines. It's got some formulas, but it also explains you how, and that will help you with the data package and to understand a little bit more. So that for me was my data analysis Bible, and it still is.
There's one called Tune to Win, which is really old. It's like when you're setting up Formula Fords back when Formula Fords were really there, and that was pretty good. I don't know if you saw that one.
No, maybe I should.
Yeah, I think it's a series like Engineering to Win, Tune to Win, but they are probably 1980s, 1990s.
Yeah,
but really, it should be fairly similar for basic knowledge, So that's good. Okay, very good. One big one that I get a lot is when I'm going from karts to cars. What do I need to learn? But I thought asking an engineer, what do you normally notice you have to teach them when they're jumping into a car for the first time? Like, is it the braking? Is it understanding the weight, where it is? What would you say? You're like, right, as soon as you get into a car, the first thing to understand is?
Well, it's a bigger car, but I think you've highlighted the various aspects already. It's braking. Braking is an important part that will feel different, and it has to be very accurate for specific types of corners and circuits, which can gain you a lot of time. And from karts to cars, you've got a bit more suspension to it. Obviously, a car doesn't have a lot of movement in terms of that. But you've got some suspension on another car.
What's their brake shape and stuff normally like, do you think, for a beginner compared to what it needs to be like?
It could be anywhere. Normally, they ramp up the brake pressure because they're very unconscious of where they should brake and why they should brake in a certain way.
Yeah.
Normally it's a bit all over the place. Even if you can tidy that up, that's already a big gain. But
yeah. So the usual brake shape is obviously hit, hold a little bit, and bleed off. But are they more like
a bit of everything normally?
Yeah. Okay.
This is like on, off, and back on, and a bit everywhere. But even just getting that under control is already
it is. People don't realize they're doing it because it's obviously left foot a lot of it now.
Yeah.
You slam the brake, and then without knowing you're coming off, and then you realize in the corner's coming because you're a lot faster than you would be at a kart or anything. Then you start to put it on again. You don't even realize you're doing it, but they don't understand what that's doing to the car, plus what you're missing out distance-wise, and you could slow it down a lot quicker. And so I think for me, it was braking as well. That's the big thing. And obviously 100%. Everything's happening faster.
Yeah.
So they just have to get their head around that, really. And the width of the tracks, blimey.
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
Everything's a bit alien.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. So braking really is always the first point, right? When you're trying to get speed.
And apart from the general car control side of things, like some guys, there's a clutch. There's a clutch pedal. Even just driving off for some of the guys is a challenge.
Yeah.
Well, it might be something that they could do with a road car. Really, it's like, hey.
Oh yeah.
Get a feeling for what a clutch is, what a clutch does, in order to drive off properly, but also your starts, which could be a key performance area.
Yeah, actually, I think people ignore what a rental car can do around a track day. Honestly, for feeling what a car does, they think they just have to jump into a single seater straight away. It's like the Rob Wilsons of the world. They just teach in a bloody Opel Astra or whatever. But it doesn't let you get away with things. It shows you if you've gone a little bit quick and you've got understeer in this thing, it's how you made a mistake 20 meters ago, or you're doing something to the car. It's understanding what the car's doing. I think taking a normal car around a track day with an instructor can actually teach you a lot.
Yeah.
And I just sit next to someone. I haven't done it for 10 years now, but as soon as you sit next to somebody, you can understand what they're going to be like in a race car around a track, and they're firing it in. They're not really listening to what the car's saying, and you're like, I can see where the problems are coming from now. And if they're looking down at the lap time, they see the lap time's not coming, and they're just pushing harder and still not listening to the car. They can spend years just going around in circles and not getting any better.
Yeah.
So don't underestimate what that can do. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you think is a good thing just to tell drivers about when it comes to engineering? Anything else? Is there anything that you can think on your mind where it's like, right, last piece of advice for people that are watching this?
From a driver perspective?
Anything, mate. Yeah.
Well, I still, for me, again, if you want to be an engineer, I think it's just trying to create a nice marriage between the driver and the car side of things.
Yeah.
And still keep it relatively simple. Gather the information, but then bring it down to that, and that. And I think also having a certain structure within various aspects of performance, I think is quite important. And look at the bigger picture. Looking what you're trying to achieve, and what is maybe also the most important issue that you want to work on now, and try to focus on that.
I think structure's
digested.
You said it there, structure, because I've had people in certain teams, right, that this year, and they've said to me, because I'm not with them, I just spoke to them on the call after, you know what, Enzo, I got to like qualifying and we still haven't done a debrief session yet with the engineer. Because you got one engineer for all the drivers and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. So they go through the whole weekend still not knowing if they're doing the right thing in the car. And that was like, when I was racing, it was like that. You had a stopwatch on your bloody chest to see what time was and carried on. That's that kind of crap,
your own stopwatch.
Yeah, so I think drivers, if you're in that situation, is you take your responsibility. You do your own debrief.
100%.
Personal one as well. How could I have done better? Maybe I was stressed a little bit. I'll try and create or calm that down next time. But what was the car doing? And you make sure that you just see the data in some way. Take it upon yourselves if the team's not set up that way, because obviously Van Amersfoort, it's impossible to for that to happen, for you to skip, because you've got your own engineer. You go up, you do your briefing notes, you come away. The engineer then deals with all the data and translates everything. Then you go back in for like a half an hour debrief.
Yeah.
So it's very structured, and I think without that structure, mate, we wouldn't have won this year.
For me, it's vital, and in any sort of thing that you do, plan, do, review. I've heard that a couple of times before.
Yeah, it's a John Pratt.
He's John Pratt.
Yeah.
When I'm thinking about it now, like, oh, actually, it starts to make sense.
That's it.
It's structure is vital, and it will make things easier, because if you're a creature of habit, then you start doing things automatically, and it takes less energy for you to come to certain conclusions. And it helps proceedings massively, and it just helps.
Good.
Structure, a lot of structure, but it's not easy to create that.
No, you've got to be disciplined, mate, at the end of the day.
100%. And then hinting on those driver notes, like if you're a racing driver, always make your notes.
Yeah.
Do not underestimate it, because it's accessing your own information first.
Yeah.
Whether an engineer looks at that later on or not, it doesn't matter. But that's your initial thought, your initial feeling.
Yeah.
And you can pick your own brains already, like, hey, I'm losing too much time there. And even not knowing the answer there and then, of course, I'm losing time in that corner, I've got oversteer, understeer. For a driver to briefly think how and why that is happening can already give him the answer. You don't need your engineer for that at some stage.
Mm-hmm.
If you can already deduct what it could possibly be, is already a huge advantage, rather than I've got this and that, and I'm losing time, I've got no clue, and then leaving it there. No, try to go that step further, and not let other people tell you what it is. Challenge yourself.
I like it. And actually, also, you just reminded me somehow, it's not really related, but when the driver, they come in, they stop, and they think, I can't remember what the car's doing.
Yeah.
And you have to have honesty to say that kind of thing, but it's true. Like, I've been so in driving the thing and chasing this bloody lap time, which I hate them doing, but they are. They come in and they're like, oh God, I don't actually know. And I don't know if you've had tricks for that or ways of helping the driver, but normally it seems like for me, it's just on the in lap. You're like, right, I've done a lap time. I'm going to continue to push if I'm allowed to. And I'm going to just remind myself what the car's doing so I can tell the engineer when I get back. Yeah. Is there any tips there that you can help drivers with? Because it is quite spinning plates sometimes when you're learning.
Oh, it's a good question. Not any sort of tips and tricks. And again, it's sort of coming back to feeling. And you rightfully say, it's also okay to say, oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fine.
I'd rather find out next time.
Being honest than trying to make up things that might not be true.
Yeah.
Because then you lose yourself into.
Forget that.
We'll just, ask questions.
Yeah.
To each other and yourself, and come to a conclusion, and then data and or video can help you.
Yeah.
But it's a process that you'll learn along the way, and the more skills you have under control, the more time and energy you have available to start downloading your own feelings. Yeah. Whilst you're driving and creating that awareness. That also creates a bit of time.
Cool.
Well, it requires a bit of time.
Honesty, discipline, structure. These are things that we've covered, mate. So I think that's like, we've now picked your brains of what it's like, or how you can succeed in this sport. Good man. Thanks for your time, my friend.
No,
people will take a lot from this, and all the best for 2022.
Yeah, you too.
Thanks, mate.